The night was quiet in the alien city, but not peaceful. The streets glowed with neon signs, bright colors on broken walls. Shadows moved in the alleys, watching, waiting. People walked fast, eyes down, afraid of trouble. Among them was a mother and her daughter. The daughter was young, her skin pale blue, eyes glowing faintly. She wore a simple shirt, and around her mother's neck shone a small amulet. It was not just a jewel, it was old, glowing softly like a heartbeat. The mother held it carefully, always touching it. The girl asked, "Mother, why do you keep it so close?" The mother smiled, but her smile was sad. "It is our family's last treasure, child. It is memory, it is love, and it is hope." The girl nodded, though she did not understand everything. She only knew that the amulet was important, too important, and sometimes when it glowed stronger she felt safe. But that night safety was far away. From the dark corner 3 masked figures stepped out, tall, strong, their eyes cruel. They blocked the narrow path, and their leader pointed at the amulet. "Hand it over." His voice was sharp. The mother froze, pulling her daughter close. "No," she whispered, her voice shaking. "This is not for you." The thugs laughed, a harsh, ugly sound. The leader grabbed at the amulet. The mother pulled back, but he was too strong. The daughter tried to push him away, her small hands useless. In the struggle, her shirt tore on the rough wall, leaving her frightened and exposed. She gasped, eyes wide, tears forming. The crowd nearby watched, but no one moved. People turned, their heads pretending not to see. Fear kept them silent. The mother begged, "Please don't, it is all we have." But the thug shoved her down. The girl screamed, clutching her mother. The amulet glowed brighter, as if alive. The leader grinned. "Pretty little jewel, worth a fortune." The girl's hand shook, her torn shirt hanging loosely. She felt powerless, trapped, her world falling apart. The robbers laughed again, cruel and heartless, but in the shadows, someone was watching. A man, not alien but human. His face was rough, scar on his cheek, his clothes simple but strong. He had seen many fights before, but this was different. He saw the girl's fear, the mother's tears. He saw the amulet shining like a soul trying not to die. And he felt something move inside him. Something he thought he had lost long ago. His fists tightened, his jaw set. He could walk away like everyone else, but his heart told him no. Not tonight. Not while they suffered. The robbers laughed again, pulling harder at the amulet. The mother's voice broke. "Please, it is not just a jewel. It is my life." The girl clung to her, sobbing, her shirt torn, her pride broken. The neon lights flickered, shadows stretched. The human stepped out of the darkness, his boots heavy on the ground, his eyes sharp like steel. The thugs turned. Surprised to see him, one sneered, "What do you want, human? Go back to your kind." He did not answer. He only looked at the girl, then at her mother, and then back at the amulet glowing in the thief's hand. Slowly, he spoke, his voice low, but firm. "Leave them." The robbers laughed louder, mocking him. "You think you can stop us, human?" The leader said. "You are alone, and you are weak." But the human did not move away. He took one step closer, then another. The crowd whispered, shocked that someone dared to speak. The girl stared at him, her tears slowing, hope shining in her eyes. The leader frowned, anger flashing. "Then you die with them," he growled. The thugs tightened their grip on their weapons, the air filled with danger, heavy and sharp. The mother held her daughter tighter, whispering, "Stay behind me." The girl's heart raced, torn shirt against her skin, but her eyes stayed on the human. He was a stranger, yet in that moment, he felt like their only shield. The human rolled his shoulders, his fists ready. He knew he might not survive, but he also knew he could not stay silent. Not tonight, not while their cries burned his ears. The street grew colder, the lights dimmed. The robbers took a step forward, ready to strike, and the human clenched his fists harder, making his choice once and for all. The fight was about to begin. The street was silent. The human stood tall, fists ready, his shadow stretching under the neon lights. The robbers laughed, but their laughter was uneasy. They had seen humans before, weak, poor, ignored. But this one was different. His eyes carried fire. The alien. Girl clung to her mother, her torn shirt brushing against her skin. She could hardly breathe, her heart pounded. Her eyes never left the human. A stranger, yet he stood between her family and danger. Why would he fight for them? Why would he care? The leader spat, raising a jagged blade. You want to die, human? Then step closer. The human did not answer. Instead, he rushed forward with sudden force. His fist crashed against the first thug's face. Bone met bone, and the thug stumbled back, blood dripping. The crowd gasped. No one expected him to strike first. No one expected him to be so strong. The second thug swung a pipe, but the human ducked. The metal whistled past his head. He rose and drove his elbow into the thug's ribs. The alien groaned, falling to his knees. But the fight was not easy. The leader roared and slashed at him. The blade cut across the human's arm, red spilling. Fast. Pain flared, but he did not fall. He gritted his teeth, ignoring the burn, one step back, then another, but his fists stayed ready. The girl screamed, "Watch out!" Her voice gave him strength. He blocked the next strike with his bleeding arm, then his fist smashed into the leader's jaw. The alien staggered but did not fall. His rage only grew. The robbers circled him, 3 against 1. The crowd whispered, afraid but unable to look away. Some even pulled out small devices to record. It was not bravery that made them watch. It was hunger for something rare. Hope. The human fought like a storm. Every punch was heavy, every kick sharp. He was not perfect, not trained like a soldier. But his will was iron. He refused to break. The girl's mother cried out, "Please, stop. They will kill you." But the human shook his head. "If I stop, they win," he muttered. And with a roar, he slammed another thug into the wall. The neon sign above flickered, sparks falling. The fight lit the street with chaos. The girl covered her ears, trembling, but she could not close her eyes. She had to watch. She had to see if hope could be real. The leader lunged again, blade flashing. The human dodged, but too late. The knife sliced across his side, blood poured, his knees buckled. The robbers laughed cruelly. "See, a human cannot stand against us." The crowd sighed, already giving up, but the girl whispered, "No, don't fall, please." Her words were small, but the human heard them. Her voice pierced through the pain. He gritted his teeth and forced himself back up. Every bone in his body screamed, but his spirit roared louder. He grabbed a broken pipe from the ground. With a cry, he swung it wide. The metal cracked against a thug's skull. The alien collapsed, motionless. The human gasped. For air, sweat dripping, blood running. But he stood tall again, the leader's eyes burned with fury. "You think this is enough?" he shouted. He whistled sharply, and from the shadows, more figures appeared. 4 more thugs stepped out, weapons in hand. The crowd gasped again. Now it was 7 against 1. The girl's mother sobbed, pulling her daughter close. "Run," she whispered. "When he falls, we must run." But the girl shook her head, tears streaming. Her eyes stayed on the human. Something deep inside told her he would not give up. Not yet. The human wiped blood from his face. His body shook, but his eyes still blazed. He knew he could not defeat them all. But he also knew one truth. If he gave up, the girl and her mother were lost, and that was something he could not allow. The leader raised his blade again. The thugs moved closer, surrounding him. The human gripped the pipe tighter. His breath came heavy, his vision blurred, but his heart was steady. He whispered to himself, "Stand, just stand." The first thug charged. The human swung, the pipe cracked. Ribs. The second came from behind. A sharp kick hit the human's back. He staggered forward. The leader slashed again, grazing his cheek. Blood sprayed. The girl screamed. Yet the human refused to fall. Every strike he gave was slower, but still strong. Every hit he took only made him angrier. The crowd began to shift, whispers turning to gasps of awe. Some even shouted, "Fight, fight!" For the first time in years, they saw courage on their streets. The girl's small hand clenched her mother's sleeve. Her voice shook, but carried through the noise. He is not weak. He is stronger than them. Her mother looked at her, stunned, because she realized her daughter was right. The human roared again. He smashed the pipe against another thug. 2 down, 5 left. But his body could not last forever. His vision darkened, his wounds deepened, and the leader's blade gleamed. Under the neon light, the girl's tears fell, her voice cracked, "Please, don't die." And the human heard even through the chaos. He raised his head, his eyes meeting hers, and with all his strength he lifted the pipe once more. The fight was not over, not yet. The street was chaos. The human stood bleeding, the broken pipe shaking in his hand. 3 thugs were down, groaning on the ground, but more had arrived, circling him like wolves. The leader's blade dripped red, and his grin was wide. The alien. Girl clutched her mother, her torn shirt pressed against her skin. Her heart raced, her breath came fast. She wanted to run, but her eyes could not leave the human. He had fought for them, bled for them, and now he was almost surrounded. The human's chest rose and fell like a storm, every breath heavy, every muscle screaming. Yet he lifted the pipe again. The thugs snarled, closing in. The leader pointed his blade at the mother and girl. "Take them," he ordered. The mother cried out, pulling her daughter close, but before the thugs could reach them, the human roared. "Run!" he shouted. His voice cut through the night like thunder. "Run now!" The mother hesitated, fear in her eyes, but the girl tugged her hand. "Mother, please, we must go." With tears streaming, they obeyed. They turned and fled into the maze of narrow streets. The human swung again, blocking the thugs. He crashed. The pipe against a face kicked another in the chest. Pain burned his wounds, blood stained his shirt, but he did not let them pass. He was the wall between hunters and prey, and he refused to fall. The mother and daughter ran through the city. Neon lights flickered above. Strange alien signs glowing in colors they could not name. The streets twisted like a maze, filled with smoke and shadows. Vendors pulled their goods inside. Shutters slammed. Everyone knew danger was coming. The girl's bare feet slapped against broken stone. Her torn shirt flapped as she ran. Her eyes searched for safety, but every alley looked the same. Dark, cold, dangerous. Her mother gasped for air, clutching her chest. "Just a little farther, child," she whispered, but fear chased them like fire. Behind them, shouts echoed. The thugs were following. Their heavy boots pounded closer. The leader's voice roared. "Find them! Bring me the amulet!" The girl's hand went to her neck, but the amulet was gone, ripped away in the fight. Her chest ached, as if a piece of her soul had been stolen. Tears blurred her vision. Without it, they were empty. Without it, they were nothing. They turned a corner, nearly crashing into a wall. The mother stumbled, almost falling. The girl caught her arm, pulling her up. "Mother, hurry!" Her voice shook, but her steps did not stop. They pushed through a crowded market street. Strange foods and glowing bottles spilled from carts. Merchants shouted, then fell silent when they saw the thugs. The crowd parted like water. No one dared to help. Everyone stepped aside, afraid of being caught. The girl's breath burned her lungs. Her feet ached, her shirt torn, her pride broken. But she pulled her mother forward. She would not let go. She could not. Then, from the side street, a shadow stumbled into view. It was the human. Blood ran down his face, his clothes torn, but he was alive. He limped, but his eyes still burned. When he saw them, he straightened, forcing himself to stand tall. "You're not safe yet," he said, his voice rough. The girl gasped, joy and fear mixing. You came." He nodded, wiping blood from his mouth. "I told you to run, but I'm not letting them take you." The mother shook her head, tears falling. "You are bleeding. You will die if you stay with us." The human gave a small smile. Better to die fighting than to live watching. Behind them, the thugs shouted again, closer now. The human clenched his fists. "We move," he said. He led them into another alley, narrow and dark. The walls dripped with moisture, the air thick. Every corner felt alive, full of eyes. The girl clutched her mother's hand tighter. Her other hand reached toward the human's sleeve. She did not know why, but his presence felt like a shield, even bleeding, even broken. He was strength she had never seen before. The chase continued, steps echoed, shadows stretched. The thugs were still hunting, their voices growing louder. The human whispered, "This way." He turned sharply, leading them through a half-collapsed archway. The ground crumbled under their feet, but they did not stop. The city above was bright, full of color and noise, but down here it was silent, empty, forgotten. The girl shivered, her torn shirt brushing against her arm. She felt cold, but she also felt hope. Hope that maybe they could survive. Hope that maybe the human was more than he seemed. Behind them, a howl echoed. The thugs were still close. The mother stumbled again, gasping. The human caught her arm, steadying her. "Keep going," he urged. "We're almost there." The girl looked up. "Where?" she asked, her voice trembling. The human's eyes narrowed. "Someplace they won't follow." The footsteps behind grew louder. The air was filled with shouts and curses. The chase had not ended. It had only begun, and in the heart of the alien city, a wounded human, a desperate mother, and a frightened girl ran together into the darkness, chased by shadows that refused to let go. The night was not done. The fight was not over, and the story of the amulet was only beginning. The night dragged on like a heavy chain. The human led the mother and daughter through the twisting back streets. His steps were uneven, blood dripping from his wounds. But his eyes stayed sharp, always scanning the shadows. Every corner felt dangerous, every sound like a threat. The girl's torn shirt clung to her as she ran. Her small hand gripped her mother's tightly. Her chest ached from breathing, yet her eyes stayed on the human. She did not know his name. She only knew he fought when no one else did. At last, he stopped in front of a broken door. The building was old, crumbling, forgotten, its walls covered in alien graffiti, its windows shattered. The human pushed the door with his shoulder. It groaned but opened. "Inside," he whispered. They stepped into darkness. Dust hung in the air. The smell of rust and damp filled their lungs. It looked abandoned. But there was a strange safety in its silence. The mother helped the girl sit on a cracked bench. The human leaned against the wall, breathing heavy, his shirt soaked red, his skin pale. The girl's eyes widened. "You're hurt." The human gave a small smile. "I've been hurt before," he said, but his voice shook, betraying his pain. The mother tore a piece of her sleeve and pressed it against his wound. "You will bleed to death if we do nothing." He nodded but did not complain. The room was quiet. Only their breathing and the distant echoes of the city filled the air. Finally, the mother spoke, her voice low. "You do not know us, human. Why risk your life for strangers?" He looked at her, then at the girl, her torn shirt, her trembling hands, her frightened eyes. "I couldn't stand and watch," he said simply. His words were plain, but heavy. The girl felt something warm in her chest, something she had not felt since her father's death. Hope. The mother's hands shook as she looked at the human. Then she reached for her neck. Her fingers touched bare skin where the amulet once hung. Tears filled her eyes. "They took it," she whispered. "They took everything." The girl leaned closer, her voice soft. "Mother, tell him why it matters." The mother nodded slowly. Her eyes turned to the human. "It is not only jewelry, not just a stone. That amulet carries our family's memory. It holds the spirit of my ancestors. Their voices, their blessings, their strength. Without it, we are broken. Without it, my daughter has no future." The human frowned. "A jewel that holds memory?" The mother nodded. "Our kind binds soul to stone. When my husband died, his last words, his love, all went into that amulet, and now it is in the hands of thieves." Her voice cracked. Her tears fell. The girl buried her face in her mother's arms, sobbing. The human clenched his fists. He had seen men fight for money, power, revenge. but never for memory. Never for love. He understood then that this was more than survival. This was sacred. I will help you get it back, he said. The mother looked at him in shock. You have already done enough. You will die if you continue. But the human shook his head. If I stop, then their cruelty wins. I won't allow it. The girl raised her head, tears shining on her cheeks. You mean it? He nodded. Her heart leapt with a strange new trust. He was not of her kind, but he was fighting for her more than her own people. Before more could be said, a sound cut through the silence, a faint creak, like a footstep on wood. The human froze, his eyes narrowing. He motioned for silence. The mother pulled her daughter close, covering her mouth. The room grew colder, the air heavier. Another sound, this time closer. The human grabbed a broken metal rod from the floor. He limped toward the door, his breath steady. Shadows moved outside the cracked window. Voices whispered in the alien tongue. The girl's heart pounded. They found us, she whispered. The human pressed his back to the wall. He raised the rod, ready to strike. The door creaked again. Dust fell from the ceiling. The girl clutched her mother, tears spilling. Every second stretched long. Every breath felt like the last. The human's eyes narrowed. He had been in battles before, but this one felt different. He was not fighting for himself. He was fighting for them, for a mother's memory, for a girl's future. The footsteps stopped. The silence was worse than the noise. Then a voice called out, "We know you're inside." The thugs had tracked them. The girl's mother covered her mouth to keep from screaming. The girl's hands shook, her torn shirt pressed against her chest. The human raised his weapon higher. His voice was low but steady. "Stay behind me." The door rattled. The shadows grew larger. The fight was coming again, but this time it would not be on the street. It would be here, in their only shelter, and the human knew one truth. If he failed now, there would be no second chance. The hidden safe house was no longer safe. The safe house shook with every knock on the door. Dust rained from the ceiling. Boards creaked under heavy boots. The mother pulled her daughter close, whispering prayers in her own tongue. The girl clutched her torn shirt, her small body trembling. Her wide eyes stayed fixed on the human. He stood by the door, weapon in hand. Blood stained his clothes, but his stance was strong. "Stay quiet," he whispered. But the silence did not last. A rough voice outside shouted, "We know you are in there, human. Open the door and maybe we let them live." The thugs laughed cruelly, their shadows stretching across the broken windows. The human clenched his fists tighter. He had fought men like these before, men who promised mercy with their lips, but carried only death in their hands. He would not believe their lies. He turned to the mother and daughter. "You must trust me," he said. "They will not spare you if you surrender." The mother's eyes filled with tears. "But if we fight, we all die." The human shook his head. "No, if we fight, we have a chance." Before more could be said, the sound of footsteps came from the back of the building. The girl gasped. "They are all around us." The human frowned. No. This was different. The steps were lighter, cautious. Then the door at the back opened slowly. A thin alien boy peeked in, his eyes darting nervously. "It's me," he whispered. "I know another way out." The mother gasped, recognizing him. "Caro," she said. You live near the market." The boy nodded. "I saw you run. I saw where you hid. They paid me to tell them, but I came to warn you too. If you go now, you can escape." The human's eyes narrowed. There was fear in the boy's voice, but also something false still. The mother clung to the chance. "Please, we must take it," she begged. The human hesitated, but nodded. He could not keep them trapped here, not with the walls closing in. They slipped out the back, following the boy through narrow passages. The air was damp, the walls close. Every step echoed like thunder. The girl held her mother's hand. The human limped behind. His wound slowed him, but his eyes stayed sharp, always watching, always waiting. The boy led them into an open yard. The moonlight shone on rusted metal and broken crates. "Here," the boy said, pointing to a gate. "Beyond this you will be safe." But before they reached it, the shadows moved. Figures stepped out from the dark, Thugs, waiting, ready, the human cursed under his breath. The boy stepped back quickly, his face pale. I didn't mean, but the leader of the thugs shoved him aside, laughing. Good work, boy, your money will come later. The mother gasped, betrayal cutting deeper than any blade. The girl's tears fell. You sold us, she whispered. The boy shook his head, stammering. I had no choice, they would have killed me. But no one listened. The trap was already sprung. The thugs surrounded them, blades glinting in the pale light. The leader held the amulet in his hand. It glowed softly, mocking there. Haas, did you really think you could run? He sneered. This jewel belongs to us now. The mother dropped to her knees, her voice breaking. Please take me instead, leave my daughter. The leader laughed. No, you both come. The jewel is ours, and so is your blood. The human stepped forward, his voice rough but steady. You'll have to go through me first. The leader tilted his head, amused. You're still alive, human? Impressive, but tonight you die. The fight exploded. The human swung his rod with fury, clang, crash cries filled the yard. The girl pulled her mother back, hiding behind a broken crate. Her heart raced. Her tears blurred her vision, but she forced herself to watch. The human fought like a cornered beast, every strike desperate but powerful. He cracked a thug's jaw, sent another to the ground, but there were too many. Blades slashed, fists struck, blood poured from his side. His knees buckled. His breath came ragged. The leader struck him down with a heavy blow. The rod flew from his hand, clattering to the dirt. The human fell hard, groaning. The girl screamed, "No!" Her voice echoed in the night. She grabbed a small stone and threw it at a thug. It hit his face, surprising him, but the others only laughed. The leader pressed his boot on the human's chest. You tried, human, but courage means nothing without strength. He raised his blade high, ready to strike. The girl's heart froze. She could not move, could not breathe. Her world felt like it was breaking apart. The mother sobbed, holding her daughter close, but the girl's eyes did not leave the human. He had fought for them, he had bled for them, and now he lay broken, about to die. Something stirred deep inside her. A fire, a scream, a courage she had never known. Her small hands clenched into fists. Her voice rose above the laughter of the thugs. Stop, she cried. Her voice shook, but it carried power. Power even she did not understand. The thugs turned, surprised. The girl stepped forward, trembling but unbroken. Her torn shirt hung loose, her face wet with tears, but her eyes burned with new light, a light that even the leader noticed. He lowered his blade slightly, frowning. What are you? He muttered. The human groaned, barely conscious, but when he heard her voice, he forced his eyes open, and for the first time, he saw not a frightened child, but a spark of something greater. The night was far from over. The betrayal had brought them here, but the girl's courage was about to change everything. The leader's blade hung in the air. The human lay on the ground, blood soaking his shirt, his chest rising weakly. The mother clutched her daughter, begging silently for mercy, but the girl pushed forward, her small frame trembling. Her torn shirt flapped in the cold wind, her hands shaking, yet her eyes burned with fire. Stop, she cried again. Her voice echoed across the yard. It was not loud, but it was sharp. Sharp enough to freeze the laughter of the thugs. The leader tilted his head, lowering the blade slightly. There was something in her tone, something that unsettled him. The girl's legs shook as she stepped between the human and the robbers. Her mother gasped, reaching for her. No, child, don't. But the girl did not move back. She spread her arms wide, her body a small shield, her heart pounding, her tears falling, her courage shining. The leader sneered. You think you can stop us, little one? The girl swallowed her fear, her voice wavered, but she spoke. You will not take him, you will not take my mother, you can kill me, but you cannot break us. The thugs laughed again, mocking her, but the leader did not laugh. He saw her eyes, glowing faintly, a strange shimmer, a light he had not seen before. The amulet in his hand pulsed at the same time, the glow answering her. The girl gasped, feeling the connection. The stone called to her. Her blood, her soul, her family's memory. It was still hers, the mother whispered, trembling. She is awakening. The human, barely conscious, lifted his head. His blurred eyes locked on the girl. And for the first time he saw hope again. The leader growled, trying to break her courage. You are nothing. Just a child. But the girl's hands clenched into fists. Her voice grew stronger. No, I am not nothing. I am my mother's daughter. I am my father's blood. And that jewel belongs to us. With sudden speed, she darted forward. Her small hands grabbed a broken staff lying near the crates. The thugs lunged to stop her, but she swung with all her strength. The staff cracked against one thug's knee. He howled in pain, collapsing to the ground. The others gasped, shocked. The leader's face twisted with rage. He charged at her, blade flashing. But the human, though weak, threw himself. Up his arm caught the leader's wrist, stopping the strike. The girl cried out, swinging again. The staff smacked against the leader's side. For the first time, he staggered. The mother rushed forward, grabbing a stone. She smashed it against another thug's head. Together they fought, a broken family. A wounded human, but united, they burned brighter than fear. The thugs shouted in anger, surrounding them again. But the girl did not back down. She stood tall, staff in hand, eyes glowing. Every strike she gave carried more strength than before. It was as if the amulet's spirit flowed through her. As if her ancestors whispered, Stand. Fight. Do not. Fall. The human fought beside her, though his body shook. His fists still struck. He blocked a blade, took a hit, then countered with a punch. Blood filled his mouth, but he smiled, because he was no longer fighting alone. The girl's courage spread like fire. Even the crowd that had gathered at a distance began to murmur. They had seen humans beaten, alien families broken. But tonight, they saw something new. They saw a child refusing to kneel. They saw a wounded man refusing to die. The leader roared. In fury, he raised the amulet high, its glow stronger, pulsing with power. You cannot take this from me, he shouted, but the girl's voice rose above his. It is mine. The light flared. The amulet shone so bright it blinded them for a moment. The leader cried out, clutching it. It burned his hand. The girl stepped forward, reaching out. Her eyes glowed brighter, her voice steady. Give it back. The jewel pulsed. It slipped from the leader's grasp. Flying into her waiting hands, she gasped as warmth filled her chest. The memory of her father's voice whispered inside her, My brave daughter. Tears streamed down her face, but her heart was strong. The leader screamed in rage. He lunged, but this time she was ready. She spun the staff, striking him hard. He fell back, stunned. The thugs hesitated, fear in their eyes. The glow of the amulet filled the yard, and in that glow stood the girl, no longer just a frightened child, but a symbol of defiance. The human staggered to her side. He rested a bloody hand on her shoulder. You did it, he whispered. She looked up at him, smiling through her tears. No, we did it, the thugs growled, regrouping. The fight was not finished, but something had changed. The girl was no longer afraid, the human was no longer alone, and the mother was no longer powerless. Together, they stood in the glow of the amulet, the courage of one girl turning weakness into strength, fear into fire, darkness into light. The battle was not over, but the thugs had already lost something. They had lost control, and for the first time they felt afraid. The night trembled, the city watched, and the final stand was drawing near. The yard burned with light. The amulet glowed in the girl's hands, warm and alive. Her eyes shone with its reflection, her body trembling but her heart steady. The human stood beside her, bleeding, swaying but unbroken. The mother clung to them both, whispering prayers. The leader of the thugs rose slowly. His blade scraped against the ground, his face twisted in rage. You dare take what is mine, he hissed. His men surrounded them again, but their eyes were uncertain now. The courage of the girl had shaken them. The girl held the amulet close. She could feel voices inside, her father's laughter, her ancestors' strength. They whispered to her, Do not fear, stand tall, protect what is yours. The human leaned down, whispering, Stay behind me. but she shook her head. "Not this time," she said, her voice firm. "This time we fight together," the leader roared, charging forward. The human raised his fists, though his body screamed with pain. The girl gripped her staff, her small arms steady. The clash was like thunder, steel against wood, fists against blades. The night filled with the sound of battle. The human blocked a strike, then punched, his knuckles cracked, blood splattered. The girl swung her staff, striking another thug's legs. He fell hard, crying out. The mother threw rocks, screaming, desperate. Together they fought like one, broken pieces forming a whole. The leader's blade slashed the human's arm. He staggered, nearly falling. But the girl darted forward, the amulet glowing brighter. She shoved the leader back with surprising force. He stumbled, his eyes wide. "What is this power?" he shouted. The crowd outside the yard grew larger. People whispered, gasped. They had seen humans beaten. They had seen alien families crushed. But they had never seen this. A human and an alien child fighting side by side. Hope was dangerous. And tonight it spread like fire. The leader growled, rallying his men. "Finish them," he commanded. The thugs charged. The human roared, swinging his fists. The girl spun her staff, striking again and again. Her arms shook, but her spirit did not. The amulet pulsed, sending waves of light. It blinded the attackers for seconds. At a time, enough for the human to strike, enough for the girl to stand. One thug fell, then another. The ground was littered with groans and broken weapons, but the leader still stood, his rage stronger than his fear. He raised his blade, his eyes wild. "This ends now." The human staggered forward, blood dripping. He faced the leader, his fists shaking. "I agree," he said, and the fight between them began, blade against fists, every strike heavy, every move desperate. The leader was stronger, faster, but the human had something he did not, a reason. He fought not for greed. He fought for the girl, for the mother, for hope. The girl watched, clutching the amulet. Her tears fell, her heart pounded. She saw the human stumble, saw the blade cut his chest. He dropped to his knees, gasping. The leader laughed, raising his weapon high. "Die, human." "No," the girl screamed. She ran forward, the amulet blazing. The light burst from her hands. It struck the leader like fire. He cried out, dropping his blade. The glow burned him, pushing him back. The girl raised her staff and swung with all her strength. The blow cracked against his face. He fell hard, the ground shaking. The yard went silent. The thugs froze, their leader groaning on the ground. The girl stood over him, her chest heaving, her torn shirt glowing with the amulet's light, her eyes fierce. "This is not yours," she said. "It was never yours." The leader tried to rise, but the human stepped forward, bloodied, broken, but still standing. He pressed his boot on the leader's chest. "Stay down," he growled. The leader's eyes flickered with fear. For the first time he was beaten. The remaining thugs dropped their weapons. They pulled their leader up and fled into the night. The crowd gasped, then began to cheer. Not loudly, but enough to fill the air. Hope had returned to their voices. The girl turned to the human. He swayed, his body broken. She caught him before he fell, her small hands holding him. "You saved us," she whispered. His eyes closed, but he smiled weakly. "No, we saved each other." The mother knelt. Tears streaming, she touched the amulet, now glowing steady. Her voice shook. "Our family is whole again, and it is because of you." She looked at the human. "You are not just a stranger, you are part of us now." The girl held the amulet to her chest. She felt her father's voice warm and soft. "My brave daughter," it whispered again. She smiled through her tears. For the first time, she was not afraid. The night was quiet once, more but not the same. The city had seen something rare: courage, sacrifice, unity. One human, one child, one mother. Together they had stood against darkness and won. The amulet's glow faded softly, not gone but resting, its memory safe, its power alive. The girl looked at the human still holding his hand and whispered, "You are our hero." The story was not about jewels or thieves anymore. It was about courage. It was about standing when the world wanted you to fall. It was about a bond formed in the darkest night, a bond that would never be broken, and though the scars would remain, so would the memory of that night, the night when one human fought back and changed everything.